Heyo. Uh, I wanted to take a break from work, and I like teaching things, and I thought it might be an okay idea to go over some absolute fighting game beginner stuff. So, if you're ever watching a fighting game video and kind of want to follow along at the base level, you can kind of know what to look for, what might be something impressive, and when your friends go, "Whoa, that was crazy," maybe you can kind of glean why that's the case. Um, so I'm just gonna use Guilty Gear because it's my favorite game right now, and go over some of the universal fighting game basics. So the first thing I would definitely start out with on this subject is blocking. Um, Blocking is how you don't die. And every character has a set of like moves, of course, and you can, as you would expect, they throw out punches and swords and kicks and stuff like that. If you don't want to get hit by those, what you do is you hold, like on my stick right here, I can go left, right, up, or down, or a combination of, or in between. Um, and since my opponent is on the right, if he was attacking me, then I would want to hold away from them, and that is how you block. So just me walking back, it might look like I'm walking, but this is blocking. If he were to throw an attack at me, let me record that real quick. Now it's recorded, and then we set him to... Where's the state? There it is. Memory. And then in 5 seconds he'll attack me, and I'm going to walk back to block, and I'm not going to get hit. And I blocked. I didn't take any damage. He's going to keep doing that. If I wasn't holding back, let's say I was holding forward trying to get closer to my opponent, I got hit. So that's super basics of blocking. So hold away from your opponent to block attacks. However, this is not even close to the whole deal behind it. So one like little trick you can try and do now that you have this knowledge, you can recognize, oh, what if I were to switch sides? Well, then you would have to start blocking the opposite direction. I was holding left to get away, but now if I hold left, I get hit. So you have to hold away from your opponent. So now I have to hold right to block. And yeah, just a quick demonstration. Come on, Soul. There we go. Now maybe you can see what I'm going to get to here, but this kind of gives you an opportunity to mess with your opponent. So what if, let's say, what if I were to like jump over my opponent really quickly and attack him from the other side? Maybe his reaction time, I wouldn't be fast enough to switch which direction I have to block on the stick. And you've just discovered mix-ups. That is a universal fighting game thing. The name of the game is kind of mix-ups, and that is how players will structure their offense. And it might just look like random button pressing, but at the core, there are a couple more things. But like one of the main mix-up opportunities is like, is my opponent going to be on the right side of me or the left side of me? And there's in a bunch of different games, there are many really, really dirty, hard to tell. Oh god, very ambiguous of like, I'm not sure if he's going to be on the left or right. Oh no, I think I better block right. Gotcha, he was on the left, and you blocked the wrong way. Now you're getting hit. You just got mixed up. So that's kind of one of the core concepts of offense and defense in fighting games. And your goal as a fighting game player is to put your opponent in those situations where they aren't sure what you're going to do next, what you are going to make them do. So offense in general is rewarded very heavily, especially in Guilty Gear, but especially just in fighting games in general. The person on offense is in control. the person on defense has to like either make split second reactions, or just straight up, what this guy is going to do to me is going to be too fast to react to, so I'm just going to have to guess, which can happen in quite a few games, especially this one. And dealing with that might sound unfair, but it just comes with a lot of practice, and you realize, oh, I know how to play against this character. This character has a super, super fast left-right mix-up that I need to be aware of. And then maybe if you know about that knowledge, you'll be ready to block it. So that's like one aspect. I'll go into another aspect. There is 2 types of blocking universally. And let's record a new action. Saul now. We're going to do, whoops, not that. We're going to record a sweep. And then we'll set him to memory. And since I'm on the right, I'm going to hold right to block, right? Except I did it dumbly. But, so I'm blocking the correct direction as oh, but I got hit. What the heck? I thought you told me holding away from my opponent would block attacks. Well, it's not just that. You see, some attacks need to be blocked low. You need to crouch. So right now, as you can see on the screen, I'm holding down and back, which means I'm holding away from the opponent and I'm holding down. So some moves can only be blocked crouching, and those are called low attacks. And now you might see where I'm going with this. This is another opportunity to make your opponent guess. Is he going to go high or is he going to go low? Because similarly, most jumping attacks cannot be crouch blocked. You have to be standing up and holding just straight up back. You're not allowed to down back, or you'll get hit. So this, very similar to the rant about mix-ups I got, this is more likely where you're going to see mix-ups come into play, is a high-low mix-up. So if you are on offense, maybe you can study your character and find out, ooh, I have a attack that has to be blocked low that comes out really quickly. Like Biken has one. She has crouching kick. This is a low attack. You see I've set Saul to block every move that I throw at him, and you see he quickly crouches and then blocks because he's a computer. So this one has to be blocked low, but any other button I have can just be blocked standing. So maybe a cool thing you could try and figure out with your character is like, oh, maybe I can do something like, maybe if I go do a low move and make them crouch block it, maybe I can do a must high block move. Oh, I should explain a little bit more. So there are low moves which have to be crouch blocked, and there are high moves, most jumping moves are high moves, that must be blocked standing block. However, most in general moves, like any of Biken's moves on the ground and most of the casts moves on the ground, they can be blocked either. It doesn't matter. You can crouch block like this big sword if you want, or you can stand block it. So those ones are called mid moves. Doesn't really come up to, or it doesn't make a difference which way you block. However, if you can quickly figure out a way that your character can do a low and then a really quick high, you're going to have to make your opponent react to that or guess on it if it's fast enough, and make them go from low block to high block really quickly. And that is a very dangerous place for the defense to be in. So, and again, like I said, for left-right mix-ups, this is just another avenue where you can put your opponent into a bad situation. So maybe I could even put them together, and we'll get to what this is in just a second, but I could put them together and make them block low and then like jump over him and then do a high attack and make him have to switch from blocking low and to the right and then he'll have to block high and to the left, and that just explodes people's brains, and they probably will mess up, and then you're doing damage to them, therefore you're winning. So that's kind of the basics of a bunch of stuff. And then, but Luke, you may ask, what happens if my opponent is good, is very good at the game, and he knows everything about my character, and he's played me so many times that he knows exactly what I'm going to do. AKA, he's blocking all my moves. No matter what I throw at him, he's crouch blocking all my lows and he's high blocking all my high attacks. What do I do? Well, in every fighting game that I can think of, there is a counter to blocking, and that is called throwing. Throwing is done in a couple different ways in fighting games. In Guilty Gear, it's extremely strong, but in most fighting games, it's another option to like kind of break up your offense. If you think your opponent is standing there terrified of like, oh, is he going to go low? Is he going to go high? I better block and react to whatever they're going to do. And then if you just catch them by surprise and throw them, they're going to be like, what? Now there's another thing I have to worry about. And that's exactly it. The natural counter to blocking and standing still is the throw. You can only throw your opponent when they aren't being hit by something. When they're standing there doing nothing, waiting to block is the only time you can really throw. And there's some more technical terms, but that's kind of the layman's terms. So yeah, you're only allowed to throw them when they're just standing there, and not you. Yeah, whatever. There are some, like I said, more technical things, but we'll skip that. And then you might say, but these throws sound crazy good. How do I beat those? If they beat blocking, then what the heck am I supposed to do? Well, the way you beat throws is there are two ways. In Guilty Gear, it's extremely hard to do this, but in other games it's a lot easier. Is if you think your opponent is going to throw you, you throw them back, and that's called a throw tech, and it cancels out the throw, and you separate a little bit on the screen, and it usually says like technical or something like that, but the throw is canceled. If you perfectly predict when your opponent is going to throw you, you are rewarded by getting them off of you. In Guilty Gear, that's extremely difficult to do. Or in this old Guilty Gear, it's really, really hard because throws are extremely powerful and super fast. So fast, in fact, that they cannot be reacted to. You must know exactly when the throw is going to come from the opponent, or else you get thrown. The tech window for you to cancel their throw with your throw is extremely small. However, in a game like Street Fighter or the new Guilty Gear, it's a lot larger, and if you'll see like an animation of like someone's hand coming out to grab you, and then if you see that, you might be able to react and throw out your own throw, and then it'll cancel and do a tech. So yeah, there are a couple ways. That's one way. The other way is you can just you can just punch them. You can punch them in the face. And if they're getting punched, turns out they can't really throw you. And if you're going in to throw them, you're kind of committing to not blocking. I'm running in, and I'm gonna throw you. However, if Soul were to just punch me in the face while I was running up to him, he just punched me in the face, and now I'm the one on defense now, so that sucks. So you might be noticing a sort of rock, paper, scissors going on, where attacking is very powerful. There are like a bunch of cool mix-ups you can do to put pressure on your opponent and make them guess. But if you're really good at blocking is kind of the natural defense to that. And if you get good at blocking, you might be able to react to some of the scarier things your opponents can do. But the natural counter to that, if your opponent sees that you're good at blocking, he might just mix it up by running up to you and throwing, because you're so ready to just stand there and not attack him, he's just going to throw you. And then if they start throwing you too much, well, maybe you can go clap back and sock him in the face and tell him, hey, get off me. But then they might start blocking, and then it kind of is a circle. And that's a very simplified version. You might be like, oh, so fighting games are just rock, paper, scissors? Well, no. There are so many more. It's like rock, paper, scissors, and 80 other elements that all kind of soft counter each other in a giant circle, Mobius strip kind of deal. And you need to be aware of what your opponent is capable of doing, and you need to know what your character is capable of doing to counter it. And some of the things on that, all the things I described, are universal to every character in every fighting game. However, in like maybe in Guilty Gear especially, there's another type of blocking that helps a little bit more. You can do what we call a faultless defense, and if you hold 2 buttons while blocking, your opponent gets pushed further away when you block, which can make it even safer for you. And like you want to get your opponent out of your face, you can do a faultless defense. And that's like a Guilty Gear thing. It's not a Street Fighter thing or a Tekken thing or anything like that. Well, Tekken's really weird, but yeah, so that's kind of, there are universal fighting game mechanics, which I have just described, and then it gets more specific to game mechanics, and there may or may not be more systems in the game that you can use for offense and or defense, and then there are character specific mechanics, like Biken. My character is super gross in this game, and she is like one of the only characters in any fighting game that I know of that kind of breaks the universal level mechanics. And we won't get it too far into that, but essentially she can like break that triangle of rock, paper, scissors that is holy and sacred to all universal fighting games, and she kind of breaks that wide open and changes the game around her. So it's very interesting, but I just think she looks cool, so I play her. But she is very, very good because of that. So like if you play against this specific character, you need to know how she works, because you have to play a lot differently. So it's not just rock, paper, scissors, block, throw, attack. There are so many more layers on top of that that you need to keep in mind. So yeah, I think that's attack and block and stuff like that. And I guess like last thing I kind of want to go over is just offense in general and stuff like that, especially in Guilty Gear. One thing that is very important is like how you kind of structure your offense. If I just go up to Soul and go like slash heavy slash heavy slash, and then I run up again and go slash heavy slash, and my opponent just blocks, I'll be like, what the heck? What do I do? Why is he just blocking? Why am I not getting hits? This is dumb. That's because my offense isn't structured very well. It's pretty predictable what I'm going to do. Soul has 2 options. He can either just keep blocking, because that's been working really well and I haven't changed anything, so he has no reason to change what he's doing. Or if he observes and sees a gap in my offense, he could try and like challenge and get out, and maybe he could throw a punch during one of my vulnerable moments, and then he would be the attacker. So in that example, it would be like slash, heavy slash, and I get pushed back a little bit because he's blocking, and then I have to run in to continue my offense. And while I'm running in, I'm holding forward towards my opponent, which is the opposite of blocking. So if he were to punch me right here, blam, I get clocked, and now I lost because my offense was structured poorly. And one key factor of offense is you want to make it as difficult as possible for your opponent to know what to do against you. And this means a lot of things, and I'm just going to go over one dealio, is what we call a knockdown. So I'm going to turn his guarding off. So some attacks, when they hit, will knock down the opponent. And like, don't mind the counter hit. I still have counter hit on, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. Like Baiken, this is called a sweep. Most characters in most games have like a sweep where they like put both their legs out and try and trip their opponent, and if it hits, it knocks them down onto the ground, and they have to do a getting up animation to get back up. While they're getting back up, they're invulnerable. However, you can see that I am free to act during that entire period where Soul is locked in to just getting up. He can't do anything else. He can only just stand up automatically, and me, I have a precious like half a second to do whatever I want. And that period is what we usually call in fighting games Oki, or it's the time to set up Oki. This is the opportunity for you to set up your dirtiest mix-ups that we talked about earlier. Be like, you know exactly where your opponent is going to be and when, and therefore maybe you can set up the most perfectly hard to react to mix-up to force them to make a mistake and take some damage. So especially in Guilty Gear, this is very, very important, is once you get a knockdown, like Baiken likes to put a tatami mat on top of them, falling down, and then when they wake up, they're like, well shit, there's a tatami mat, I have to block. And that's exactly what you want. You want your opponent to block, because then they're on defense and can make a mistake, and you're on offense and they have to react to what you're doing. There are some counters to this, but knockdowns are incredibly powerful, and they should be what you seek out when they should be a priority when you're structuring your offense. Is getting a knockdown is very important and powerful if you can capitalize on the little timing window and set something up for when they wake up and get back to a standing position, because their options are very limited when standing up. Some characters, like Saul, have big giant moves that just like are a huge uppercut, and they're fully invincible, and you can do it right when you wake up. However, Saul is free to do that, and if he did that, that would go right through my tatami and probably hit me. However, if I see that coming, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this goofball is gonna do one of those big uppercuts, and because I know you've done it before, and if you see it coming, you could just do nothing and watch the Saul go into the air and come back down, and then typically the bigger the move is, the more flashy and big and giant it is. In general, if you miss with a big flashy move, you're going to be sitting there for a long time in a vulnerable state, and that's when your opponent can be like, gotcha, I just baited you into doing that giant uppercut, and because you missed, I'm going to punish you for it. And you can like hit them a bunch and they can't block. They're still like reeling from finishing their move and being sad that they missed it. And you can go ahead and hit them and knock them down again at the end of your offense. So like, for example, just a super ultra quick thing with Baiken, I could go like slash sweep, and it did some damage and it knocked down my opponent, so I'm free to use the time to set up whatever I want. And I choose to leave it to Tommy Matt, which means they're probably going to have to stand up and just block, or they're going to have to stand up and do a big old invincible uppercut. And if I can predict which of the two that they're going to do, then I can just continue attacking. And that's a pretty great game plan, because then they have to they're on the defense making bad decisions again, or maybe good decisions, and I can run up and throw. So yeah, I think that kind of goes over a bunch of the like mind games at the core of fighting games in general. Um, just like I wanted to get it across that there are universal mechanics to all fighting games, most all fighting games. Tekken is weird, and that beyond that there are like game specific mechanics, and then there are character specific mechanics. Um, and all of those put together uh, kind of create the options that you can use to structure offense and even defense, and the knowledge you'll need to properly defend against something like Baiken, who what do I do if a tatami mat is waking up or falling on my head while I'm trying to stand back up? What do I do? There You should play against Bikens, try a bunch of things, see what works, or watch videos of pros fighting against Biken and see what they do. And yeah, it might be different from character to character. Maybe Saul has more options than some other character. So yeah, that's kind of the core of it. I hope this kind of, if you don't know what fighting games are and you have no idea how to even watch a fighting game, I hope this kind of serves as a good tutorial of like why it's entertaining. It's not like I didn't talk about combos at all. Combos are like a cool flashy thing. There are like big super moves that come out and do a ton of damage, but the core of it is a mind game of what is my opponent going to do. If I'm on defense, I am in the bad position and have to react to what my opponent is doing. And that gives me, I am the one who will make mistakes and get punished for it and lose. But if you're on offense, then you have the opportunity to be the one causing your opponent to guess. So it's a back and forth to try and become the person on offense and stay the person on offense. So yeah, I hope that kind of sums everything up, what the priorities of a fighting game player kind of are. And when you watch something flashy, like if you watch tournaments, people will do like giant, huge combos, and commentators will be like, "All right, that was good." And then if you see something like very minuscule that just happens in a split second, they'll be like, "Oh crap, that was crazy." And now maybe you might be able to see why. Maybe that split second moment was a really, really ambiguous high-low mix-up, and maybe no one had seen it before, and that player just like discovered it on his own or something like that, and it becomes a huge thing, which happens all the time in fighting games and is really cool to watch. So yeah, I think that covers everything. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys later. Bye.